This is cozy. The gate was $6.6 million. Yeah. 20,143 people in attendance. It was a total sellout. Fight of the night was Thompson and Luque. Performance of the night was Corey Anderson and Kevin Lee. They all won $50,000. Congratulations to them. John?
Dang, a pretty spectacular event overall tonight, but of course probably not the ending everybody was hoping for. Wanted something a little more definitive, but I just want to get your thoughts on the main event as a whole and what you thought about the stoppage.
Yeah, it happens in this game. These things happen. At first, I was bitching and pissed off, and I said, they didn't stop the Tyson Fury fight, and that cut was nasty and whatever. Then I walked back and I saw Nate Diaz, and his eyebrow was literally flipped over in front of his eye, and he had another huge gash under his eye. And then I started thinking, it's easy sitting over there in my chair thinking, the fight shouldn't be stopped. And the reason we love Diaz so much is because, he's so tough and durable and everything else. But I don't know. These things happen, and didn't look good. Yeah, it didn't look good.
Instantly, Masvidal said, let's do it again. Let's run it back. Let's do a rematch. I mean, as big as this event was, I can't see it being any smaller necessarily the second time around. Does that interest you right away?
No, it doesn't interest me right away. I think that, I got asked a couple questions tonight. Diaz comes on the later rounds. If this fight had gone later, they didn't stop it, what would have happened, whatever. But it didn't. It got stopped with cuts, and Masvidal looked very dominant. And he looked good. He's looked good all year. He's had nothing but great fights all year. And if anybody's the fighter of 2019, it's definitely that kid. And I think he's got some big options coming his way.
I know you're a boxing fan, and I don't know how much you were able to follow on with what happened tonight, but they end up showing your fight there at the fight in Vegas. I'm curious.
So MGM, we're sitting there, and MGM called and said, you guys are halfway through your co-main event right now. People are losing their minds here or whatever. Can we show the Diaz fight at the MGM? And I was just like, holy shit, this is crazy. This is getting crazier by the minute. If I woke up and dreamed all this, I wouldn't believe that it really, that it could happen. But it was nuts. And of course we said yes, and they did. And wow.
I was going to say, I know you don't like to play the MMA versus boxing game, but does that say something about the state of the sports, the health of that they're showing your main event at their card?
I don't think it's not, they're not showing my main event at their cards because somebody won and somebody lost. It's a much bigger picture than that. And I've said, and you guys know how I am or whatever. I fucking hate Oscar De La Hoya. I hate this guy. He's a scumbag and just he's a snake. And I told him not to go on this night. He did what he wanted to do, and here we are. I respect Canelo, and I respect all the other fighters and the guys who participate in the sport of boxing. And we got it worked out yesterday to where fans could see both fights. And I don't know, it's just a real crazy thing for me. You look at me, right? If you look at me, my situation, where I've been, where I've come from, we weren't allowed in this state a few years ago. The President of the United States was here tonight. And I don't care where you sit politically, you know what I mean? Everybody has their own political opinions and who they are and whatever. The President of the United States was here tonight at our event. We weren't allowed here a few years ago. Fucking wow.
Last thing for me, Dana, I wanted to ask you about Corey Anderson. He kind of shocked the world a little bit, not only with the win, but the way he did it, and of course the celebration. He came back afterwards and said, UFC, give me a title shot or terminate my contract because I deserve it right now. What do you think about him and his chances at a title next?
So he came in here very angry this week, all these conspiracy theories. We hate him. We this, that, everything else, and all this crybaby bullshit. We're trying to get him beat. We can't get you beat. You can either win or you can't. You know what I mean? We like Corey we like Walker better, or whatever the deal, whatever stuff that he was saying. No, some guys move faster than others. You're telling us what you deserve. Show us what you deserve. Tonight you showed us. Got it. Message received. Now we know. You guys were there. Were you not at the weigh-ins? Not one person clapped for him at the weigh-ins, right? Walker got a pretty big pop when he came out. I'll bet people will notice him next time, won't they? Right? You came out and you showed everybody. You did something. Now we'll move on. I'm not saying you're getting a title shot next or whatever. Reyes just won too, very impressively. We'll figure out what's next for you. And when your contract is up, if you still don't want to be here, you can do whatever you want to do. In the meantime, take the fights that we offer you. Pretty simple. We're not trying to get you beat. We're not trying to get anybody beat. How can I get you beat? If you think you're the best, if you think you deserve a shot at the title, how am I going to get you beat with the number 11 or 14th ranked guy in the world or whatever he was tonight? If you deserve a title shot.
Dana, just here. Co-main event, Darren Till. Obviously, he made his middleweight debut. What did you think of him in there at the new weight? And Anfield is something that he's been campaigning for. Obviously, he got the win. Do you see the UFC going to Anfield near Liverpool for his next one?
He won tonight. That's what he needed to do. You know, considering the week that he's had, should have been here Sunday or Monday. We had to jump through a lot of hoops to get him here when we did. And he needed to come out and he needed to win. He looked good. He looked big. He looked, he was dominant. I don't know what judge scored that thing 30-27 the other way. Insanity. But he did what he needed to do tonight. He needed to, I'm sure his head wasn't in a really good place flying in when he did and all the stuff that he had to go through. But he came in and he won. And that's what he needed to do.
What do you see next for him?
I don't know. But he's going this win probably catapults him into the top 6, and so he's going to have some fun fights ahead of him.
And Kevin Lee obviously had a very spectacular finish.
Kevin Lee did the exact opposite. So tonight, the President of the United States was here, The Rock, a lot of other people. The place is sold out, breaking records as far as ESPN goes, breaking records internationally. The list goes on and on. And when you're on a platform like you're on tonight and the people that are watching tonight, you want to be Kevin Lee and go out and do what Kevin Lee did. I'm talking about Kevin Lee. You're all going to be talking about Kevin Lee, and everybody who watched tonight's going to be talking about Kevin Lee. So Kevin couldn't have had any won money tonight too, right? He's won $50,000. It's good to be Kevin Lee tonight.
And he's said before that he wanted a fight with Islam Makhachev, and Islam had said on Twitter that he was up for that and he wanted that in January. Do you see that being next for Kevin? I
have no clue. No clue.
So you were talking about other stars on this, dovetailing that. How about Shabazian, some of the other guys like him and
awesome
Dawodu?
So he comes in, he wants to be the youngest, champion ever. And comes in tonight against Tavares, who is a gritty, tough, hard-hitting, durable, veteran. He's been around for a while, and he looked good, man. He performed.
And someone like, say, Dawodu, the opener, said he doesn't want to open ever again.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
He felt a little lack of respect being the opener.
Oh, yeah?
Worker.
It's a lack of respect.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. There you go. That's funny.
I don't know. And the last question I have is to dovetail on what John said earlier. Obviously, you and De La Hoya are best friends. Are you going to send him a thank you note for pushing that back and getting your stuff in the MGM Grand? Say, hey.
He didn't do any of that. You think that idiot did that? He did none of that.
Him and DAZN.
Yeah. It was much smarter people that surround him that started to do that stuff. It wasn't that moron. He's an asshole. I mean, how much more can I prove myself that this guy's an asshole and a complete just fuck up?
Go for it.
I have. I mean, was I right or was I wrong in the Tito Ortiz Chuck Liddell fight, right? And then after the fight's over, he comes out and lies and says, you know, how they did huge numbers on digital. Okay, you're a liar. Then right up to this fight, everything that he's done. I used to help this guy. I used to promote his fights. I used to go out on social media and say, hey, the fight's tonight. I'm watching the fight or whatever. And then we do the Mayweather-McGregor fight, and he tells people not to watch. Who does that? Don't watch. This is a disgrace to boxing. But then says he wants to fight Conor McGregor after. I mean, I could just go on for days about this guy.
Please do.
He's a bad guy. He's a snake. He's a snake, he's a liar, and he's just an all-around bad guy. And he's really fucking weird, too. Just to top it off.
Dana, I want to follow up on Shabazian, and you know, someone like him, Macy Barber, these like very young fighters who are 21, and they're all talking about they want to break John Jones's record and stuff. When you look at them and how talented they are, like, how do you kind of handle that? Because, you know, that'd obviously be a huge accomplishment for them, and they're winning these fights. Like, how do you navigate that timeline, I guess, to give them that opportunity, but as you're building them?
It's tough. You know, I always say getting into the UFC is really hard. Then breaking the top 15, top 10, top 5, and becoming a world champion is almost impossible. And you see these young talented people that have these aspirations, but I love that. I love people who embrace being the best and people who want to win the world championship. You know, you just have to be careful in how fast you move them. I think we moved Till a little too quick. Didn't seem like it at the time, but you find out the hard way. But Shabazian looked good tonight. Macy Barber looked good in her last outing, so we'll see what the next step is for them. We get in a room and we argue and go back and forth for hours until we figure out who we think is the right fit.
And to circle back to Jorge, I know you don't make the fights, but it seems like if Colby Covington wins, especially, there's a lot of backstory, a lot of heat there between those two. Is it? I mean, even if Usman wins, you said Masvidal is probably the fighter of the year. Is it fair to assume he's going to be fighting for the real welterweight title and not the BMF belt?
Yeah, there's a lot of options for him, I think, right now. We'll see how everything plays out.
Is he still too big for Conor?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm not even thinking about that tonight. Good try, though.
Dana, when did you know that the president was coming? And can you give a little insight into what the last 48 hours have been like? And also, were you nervous? I know you're not a nervous guy typically, but were you nervous at all about the crowd reaction to the president?
So when he was elected, he called me the night that he was elected and told me to get down to the party, the after party, and I went. And he wanted to come to the Conor McGregor fight the next night. And obviously he didn't know what he didn't know at the time, how crazy it would be. And then he called me the next morning and said, you know what, I'm going to ruin your event if I go. I think it'll ruin it, and they'll have to shut everything down, and I don't think it's a good idea. Let's plan this again, when there's more time to plan. And just to tell everybody, that I don't know if you know the history, but when we first bought this company, venues didn't want us. No venue wanted the UFC. And at that time, Trump reached out and asked us to come to the Taj Mahal. And that's where we ended up doing our first 2 events under the Zuffa banner. Cut us great deals, showed up at the first fight, stayed to the end. We did 2 events with him. Then we moved on to the Meadowlands. And when we left and went to the Meadowlands, he showed up to that event too, came to the first fight, stayed all night, was always good. Everything that ever happened to me in my career, Trump was the first guy to pick up the phone and reach out to me. From getting back on pay-per-view, getting our first TV deal when we did the big Fox deal. I mean, the guy always reached out to me. Then as it was starting to hear rumors that he was running for president, I got a call one day from the New York Times. And they said, we're hearing that that Trump is going to ask you to speak at the Republican National Convention. Are you going to do it? And I was like, what? first of all, he hasn't called me and asked me anything. I don't know anything about this or whatever. And then finally, he did call me and he said, and this is exactly how he said it. If you don't want to do this, I completely understand. But I'd be honored if you'd speak at the Republican convention for me. And I was like, I'm honored that you asked me, and of course I will. And I did it. And I'm telling you, since the guy has become president, I've been to the White House 4 times for dinner. He's been the most stand-up guy since the day I met him. And he told me, I want to come to a UFC event eventually. So we had dinner last Thursday at the White House, and he said, I'm coming to New York. And I was like, oh my God, that's going to be a rough one. Why don't we do Vegas on the 14th? And New York was the only one that he could do, so he came tonight. And I think that there's this craziness going on politically right now. If you're a Trump guy, you don't like certain types of people, or you don't like, and it's really, there's a lot of bullshit in that. The country's in a crazy place right now with all that. Did you see Michael Rappaport here tonight? Nobody hates President Trump more than Michael Rappaport, okay? And I'm very good friends with Michael Rappaport. I don't know if anybody hates, maybe Snoop hates him more than Rappaport does, and I'm very good friends with Snoop and lots of other people that are on one side or the other. This is a guy who's been a really good friend of me for a long time. He's done everything that he ever said he would do, and tonight he showed up to the event. And I think as fans of the sport, I think all of us can sort of appreciate, whatever political side you sit on, that the president of the United States came to one of our events.
Yeah, but again, it's a huge stadium. It's not a controlled environment. Were you nervous at all about what the crowd would be like when he walked out there?
No, I'm one of these guys, like I was just saying, whoever you are in here in the media, or if you're Snoop, or if you're Mike, any of these guys, this is America. You can believe and do whatever you want. If you want to boo, you can boo. If you don't, I mean, as an American, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can choose whatever side you want to be on. And I feel like these days we live in a world where you can't come out and say who that, I'm a Trump guy, or I'm a Hillary guy, or whatever your deal is, or whatever I'm not a real political person. So, but listen, it's America. You can do whatever you want. So I just felt like tonight we were going to walk in and whatever happened. It was, the guy was told me as a friend he would come see the fights, and he did tonight. And I appreciate him, and it was a big night for the sport.
Dana over here.
Huh? Let me tell you this. So a lot of you guys have been around since the beginning. I've walked out of that tunnel for the last 20 years. I've never fucking seen anything like that in my life. Like tonight when I walked out of that tunnel with him tonight, I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was crazy.
So Dana, there's a lot of times you had goals for this sport, right? Mm-hmm. Get sanctioned, get paid, a lot of tangible things. So you literally have described, boxing basically waiting for you, showing your fights at their thing. Their biggest star has got to wait. President's here, all the different things. Are we at a stage now where you can't really fathom these goals anymore? That things are just happening that we're beyond. You dreamed of being at Madison Square Garden for a lot of years, but now we're at a point where these things really probably weren't even.
Yeah, no, thanks. And yeah. I don't even know what to say to that, but yeah, it was amazing. And that's why I'm saying, like, tonight, it wasn't about how you feel politically about the president. The fact that all of us, not just me, fighters, the media, everybody who's worked in the sport for a long time to help build the sport, like I was saying, we weren't legal in New York because of some political bullshit a few years ago. Tonight, the president of the United States was here watching a UFC event. This is, you would see like Game 7 of a World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers, and the president would be up in a box somewhere if they ever even went to a sporting event. When Obama was the president, Obama would go to an NBA game, and you know what I mean? And now tonight to have President Trump at an event, you know. Yeah, they wanted him in a suite, of course. Yeah, he doesn't listen to them. He does what he wants to do. But yeah, they wanted him in a suite. I'm not a expert in security, but I think it's a lot safer to protect him in a suite than it is in the second row. But again, a testament to our fans, and it's the president. It's our president. It's the president of the United States, man. And tonight I was good. I was happy and proud that the crowd here in New York treated him with respect and just made the night so much cool. Everything was so cool tonight. The cut sucked, but it happens. It's part of sports, part of this sport for sure.
Dana, Caitlin Chukagian got another solid win. She was offered a title shot previously. Is it safe to assume she'll be getting offered another title shot?
Yeah, she looked good. She won. Yep.
And Johnny Walker, suffered his first UFC loss after his win against Serkinov. You said you were going to kind of take things slow with him, but then he gets matched with a top guy like Corey Anderson, and doesn't look great, obviously. So do you kind of regret that decision?
Yeah, It's not that he didn't look great. You can't come out and goof around like that. You got away with it when you were playing with some of these guys earlier on, but when you start to going against a pissed off Corey Anderson, who's dead serious out there, it's just this. You can't play in this sport, man, and you definitely can't play here. You can't do that stuff.
Dana, with all the talk of the president being here tonight and how great that was and what that says, Josh Duhamel made the video board. Why was there no showing of the president in attendance for the audience to see that, other than his arrival, which you'd have to see with your bare eyes?
Yeah, we showed the arrival. We showed him on TV, but we didn't do it in house. So,
what was that decision? Why not?
I don't know. When he walked into the arena, I don't think we needed to show him on TV. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I walked in with him. The entire building was on their feet, standing as high as they could with their cell phones. I was literally blown away. I just went, holy fucking shit, I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Was there concern that there may be a reaction that maybe would be disrespectful?
No. We walked in and the crowd was great. And then he stood up one other time and got a good reception.
Quick question on, you said no interest in running back the main BMF fight. With all the interest, clearly, traditional fans, non-traditional fans, and you said boxing and the MGM, they showed it. Why? I know you told us with the belt, it was one time only, but with all this interest, why not pick this up where we left it off?
The rematch?
Yeah, a rematch of this BMF.
Well, Diaz has to get sewed up tonight. Then, and in 4 weeks, he's got to have plastic surgery to get all the cartilage out of his eyebrows or whatever the doctor was telling me. He's got to have some work done. And I think that right now, Masvidal, like I said earlier, has had an amazing year. And he's going to move on to something else. I'm not saying that Diaz and Masvidal might not end up facing each other again. Just not something that I'm looking at right away.
And finally, 500 events for the UFC, a league now that is synonymous with the sport. The average American believes UFC is actually the sport and not just your league. What does it mean to you to be at 500 tonight? And what would you say is the one memory above all others that stays with you at this milestone?
The memory that stands out the most, well, when people ask me that, there's so many. Obviously, tonight is one of them. When we first got back on pay-per-view, when we did our Fox deal, the ESPN deal. I mean, there's just so many. This thing has gone. There's just so many different milestones and amazing, moments in the business and the sport. I couldn't just pick one.
Dana, Nick Diaz walked out Nate. I was just wondering if you talked to Nick, or did you see him backstage?
I just said hi to him. We didn't talk about anything, no.
Okay, so he didn't indicate to you at all if he's at all interested in coming back, or
No. I honestly don't think Nick Diaz will fight again.
okay. And could you shed some light on the current state of the lightweight division? There's been reports that Khabib and Tony might be fighting in March or April. Is that what you're targeting at this moment in time?
Yeah. Yep. No, we're working on that. There's going to be, I mean, if you think about next year, Conor has said publicly that he wants to come back and fight next year. You got Tony versus Khabib. You got Masvidal out there now. You got Israel Adesanya, who's saying, you know, everybody thinks Yoel Romero's so tough. I'll fight Yoel Romero. And then you got Costa out there too. There's a lot of good fights next year. Oh, and we haven't even talked about John Jones. Then you still got Stipe and Cormier again. There's so many good fights next year. The end of this year, in Korea, we got that fight coming up with. Yes, yeah, we got good shit coming up. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good year.
And you mentioned Conor's announcing of a fight. Can you give us any update on that? Apparently, Cerrone's a front runner.
There's nothing done. Literally not zero. Conor came out and said that. People then said, "Is this true?" And I said, he wants to fight that date, but we literally have nobody's called Cerrone. Cerrone actually texted me yesterday and said, "I hope all this talk is true." So there's literally nothing done. Zero.
And earlier this week, it emerged that Robert Whittaker canceled some sort. I think it was a tour in Australia because he's been offered a fight. Can you shed some light on that?
Well, he wants to fight. He wanted to turn around immediately and fight again. So, yeah, we're working on it.
Is the winner is Darren Till now in line to fight him?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana over here. As mentioned, Stephen Thompson had a very good showing tonight, but the top at welterweight is just so congested right now. We got the title fight coming up in December. We got Tyron Woodley. We got Jorge Masvidal, and Wonderboy is very determined to get another title shot. Realistically, how close is he?
I have no idea. You guys know I don't make fights the night of the fights. I don't know. Well, obviously he looked great tonight. I mean, he won fight of the night. He's looked better than he's looked in a long time. So we'll see. Was he in here already?
Yeah.
See his hand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And secondly, there was
that's going to be a minute.
Yeah. There was a controversial happening this week, Elbowgate, where Kelvin Gastelum sort of leaned his elbow on Rafael Cordero.
Yeah.
I was wondering what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, I saw it. You know, I don't know how much pressure he had on the elbow. You know, the thing is with wrestling guys know all the little tricks and all that shit. The commission obviously didn't see it. Are they investigating that? Where's Hunter at? Yeah. Yeah, they're reviewing it.
And
they're gonna if they see something that they saw it and they think he cheated. Really? There you go. There's the answer.
is there some kind of policy from UFC?
It's got nothing to do with me, man. That's between him and them.
And then Alexander Gustafsson retired earlier this year, but it seems that now he's having second thoughts. He's actually going to compete in Sweden in a submission wrestling event, and he's spoken to us multiple times saying that he's a little bit uncertain about his retirement. Would you like to see him back in the UFC?
Who said that?
Alexander Gustafsson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because in just a month or so, he will compete in submission wrestling.
Right. Yeah, no, we definitely talked to him, and he definitely wants to fight again.
So he wants to fight in the UFC again. That's what he told you.
Yeah.
Is there any timeline for when he will come back? Or
no?
Okay. And finally, did he talk to Trump after the event? And what did he?
I did.
Did he have anything to say?
He loved
about
it. He had a blast. He loved it. You know, he said it was great. I mean, if the last time he was at a live UFC fight was the Meadowlands. You know, so you're talking 2001, 2002 was the last time he was there. So it's, you know, when you come to one of these events, especially like tonight, it was so electric and he loved it. And he came, he stayed the whole event. because he came earlier. He was in my room watching the prelims with me, and then we went out for the main card.
Dana, just curious, were you able to get The Rock's reaction to the BMF title stoppage, his overall thoughts of the evening, and if you think he'll be attending future events?
I think everybody was sort of, all looking at each other. And like I said, when it first got stopped, I was pissed off about the stoppage too, until I saw him backstage after, and I don't know, his eye did not look good. But he loves it. He's a big fan of the UFC, and he's a great dude.
Was Colby Covington in the building tonight?
No.
What's the reasoning behind that? He's
I have no idea.
Trump's biggest supporter.
I have no idea. I don't think Colby was ever planning on staying. I think he went out yesterday with, I think he had lunch with Don Jr. and Eric yesterday, and was asking if he could sit down there with those guys. But the White House controlled those seats. That was up to the president who was going to sit there. And he had senators and he had a bunch of senators and, politicians sitting with him. So, yeah, nothing negative toward Colby or anything like that. But I think Colby was always planning on going home. I think if he could have sat there, he would have wanted to.
Lastly, if you were to give tonight a grade, what grade would you give it overall from start to finish?
It's tough. I mean, the card was awesome. Co-main event was there. And the main event stopped with a cut. So anytime you have a place that has the excitement and the energy and all the other things that go on, if the main event doesn't, give you one of those holy shit moments that I always talk about, B-.
Dana, over here.
Hey.
Are you able to offer any details in terms of added security measures for tonight? Or no?
What do you mean?
In terms of President Trump being here?
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I know we went through the bomb dogs and all that kind of stuff.
Shut down the block. If it was after like 8:00, you couldn't get on this block without a ticket. As far as I know. Yeah, there was Secret Service everywhere. But I don't know about people getting in the building, but everything ran smooth back at house. They were actually really great to work with, and everything went pretty smooth.
Okay. You touched on this a little bit before, but
we lost our press room, but other than that, everything was great. Nobody got fucked but you guys.
Aside from politics and your personal relationship with him, have you been able to sort of digest the idea that the president of this country was at a UFC event? That's very significant, especially in New York.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and like he and I were talking about a second ago, it's like you these are just things you asked me 10 years ago, I'd tell you, I think the sport's going to be here and it's going to do this and do that. And, but like baseball games for Bush, like the NBA for Obama, right? And now the UFC as a president that attended one of the events. It's like one of the big deals. It's like you made it, it's awesome. Yep. So he wanted to be in the third row. He wanted to sit in the third row. And last Thursday, I was having dinner with him. And I was like, Mr. President, you don't want to sit in the third row. Third row sucks. Right? It's like, no. So it was literally a battle for a few days to get him up into the second row. He likes the third row. He likes the, right where he was sitting, and the third row is where he likes to be. But I negotiated him up into the second. I have no idea. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where this takes us, in the future. I don't know. Thank you, guys. We good? Have a safe trip home. Appreciate it. Thank you.